So, good question, though. I'm glad you raised that question. This lady here, I believe.
Just one second.
I do.
Mary, just 1 second. You touched on something right there, and we're going to try to have a program here at South Rockdale in the future. And I mentioned it last month. It's interbasin transfers, IBTs. That's a real hot topic. Maybe we have our water, and maybe we don't. Maybe we put a reservoir in for somebody else. Maybe we didn't. That's going to be decided in the future by lawyers and courts and a lot of infighting, but don't feel comfortable that the water in that reservoir is your water. We're going to need to support the commission and everybody else. You may have to get in your car and drive to the state capitol if it takes it, but you need to get ready to pack your picnic lunch and go when you're told to go, because that water may be taken away from us. We are in the middle of a water war. There are no winners on the hill yet, but it looks like we're way down the bottom of that hill in Georgia. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Excellent point. Harry, great questions. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the questions. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Sarah. And I think the thing that you might not understand is 90% of the people in this room have never been there. I was almost loved the last 6 times I did. And I said never again. We're not really looking for the population density that you're talking about. We'd like some jobs. But I think maybe we've got different visions of where we want it to be.
Well, thank you for your question in terms of transit, in terms of you're not going to ride the train. That's perfectly okay. But there are a whole lot of other people that want to see this. Now, I'm not talking about Marta here. I'm talking about we have a Greta right now. That's a public transportation. That's already existing. So we're talking about enhancing that scenario there. Now, whether I have a fear of getting on a public transit or a train or a rail going to Metro Atlanta, we're talking about what's going to drive potentially economic development. And we know, and statistics will show, that where transit comes, so does, where multimodal transportation comes, so does employment. Look at your map in Gwinnett County. Gwinnett County has the Gwinnett Arena, the Gwinnett Arena. They also have the Gwinnett Braves Stadium. It stops right there. They also have high-tech industries. They just bought in last year. They bought in the national, what's the name of the company? The Fortune 500 company. They have the jobs there. We don't have the jobs. We got to position ourselves, to move forward economic development. If it takes us talking about transit, intermodal transit, that's what we need to be talking about. So we can get those dollars in to fix our roads. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen? Whoever the commissioners are in the future, they're going to say, I need to raise your millage rate by $1 million. That's $1 million. For every millage rate, it's $1 million. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that too.
Let me get this question here, and then come over here, this question here.
Real quick, I mean, you refer to Amtrak, and I understand that a lot of what this is proposing is somewhat different than Amtrak. But take Gwinnett County and Marta, for example. You have everything from the heavy rail and trains to the buses. And with the problems we've seen just last year, how can you view the elimination of bus routes? They can't pay the bills. How can you view that as anything but a failure? You talk about bringing businesses and people in. Memorial Drive in the last 15 years, when I moved here 15 years ago, Memorial Drive was a place to be. It's a ghost town in a ghetto now, and they have everything from light rail to heavy rail, and it's not working there. How can it work here?
Let me address your Marta concern. Marta's in 2 counties. DeKalb and Fulton have been in those 2 counties for the past 30 years. Those citizens have been paying 1 cent on those maintenance programs. So they have maxed out. Cobb County came in maybe 10 years ago with the Cobb Transit, and then Gwinnett came in. But guess what? Whether you like it or not, the federal government says Marta is the deal. It may change names. It may become the greater rapid transit of the state of Georgia. We don't know. That's what this investment thing is all about now going forward. Now, crime. Crime. Well, if you can expand, then you can begin to grow. Let's talk about the crime issue you mentioned. Crime is not that bad in this community. It's not that bad in this community. If you look at, well, if you look at the annual report of the Sheriff's Department, have you seen that report?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't believe it.
You didn't believe it?
No.
What did it say?
No.
What did it say?
Well, when you flashed it up there.
No, the sheriff's report, annual report.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. I saw when they put it.
They,
on.
last month, they saw the real FBI statistics on these screens
Yeah.
for Rockdale County and the city of Conyers, and Jeff asked for a copy of it and I gave it to him. But out of the 257 cities in Georgia reporting, the city of Conyers was 10 and 13 in nonviolent crime. That's way up on top. In Rockdale County, wasn't very much better.
That's what crime. Well, everywhere you go to get people that crime. So I'm gonna talk about maintenance and transportation. I don't want to be there either. I've got grandchildren, I've got daughters, and I want my community safe as well as you do.
Well,
Trust me.
guns, so that's the only way I'm going to town.
You got what?
Guns.
Well, we all got guns.
And we need them.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Brian Jacob.
Brian, can you stand up for us? You got strong legs.
Chairman, you mentioned we're going to be a station on Sigmund Road. Number one, who's going to man it? Are we going to have to pay for it? Our tax dollars are going to have to secure that station. That was not touched on. Question number two is, where did you get the facts from in regards to Marta bringing jobs to the community? Let me end with this. It seems to me that the sentiment, collective sentiment, is that this community is opposed to Marta. I will certainly convey to the group here that Marta does have three passengers that ride on Marta on a regular basis. One's name is Crime. The other one's name, no, this is very serious. The other one's name is Dependence, because that's what it breeds, a level of dependence in this county. That's exactly what Marta brings. And the other one is Garbage. That's what Marta brings to this county. One of the things that we as a group need to pay attention to is that when we start taking a look at bringing Marta into the community, we will begin to resemble some of the neighboring counties and also take on some of the problems of the neighboring counties. And so I would suggest that we look at this a little closer. And now if we're mandated, that's one thing. And I'm going to research as to whether or not we are mandated. Because you mentioned this, but I certainly will take a little further.
Thank you for your question. Let me go back to, I never said Marta brings employment. I said transportation creates economic development. That's what I said. And in terms of the three people who ride Marta, Greta, it doesn't have to be called Marta. That's what the struggle is now. Greta right now, as I mentioned earlier, did 9,000 riders. That's coming from Newton County, Monroe, Henry, Walton. It's not just Rockdale. Now you mentioned who's going to pay for the Sigma. That's a federally funded opportunity. That doesn't come. That's maintained by the agency, not by the county. So those are your three questions. Answer 3 questions. Extra questions and extra points. I appreciate that. Let me entertain 1 or 2 more questions. I'm gonna get up out of here.
Yeah, we got a couple more questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So much a question as a comment. I commuted into Atlanta for 13 years to the CDC, and each year the traffic got worse and worse and worse, where you could almost not stand to commute into Atlanta anymore. I finally got to the point in the last year, a couple of years that I worked, of getting into work at 6 o'clock in the morning to avoid that traffic. There was no public transportation then, and I would have very much been happy to ride some public transportation in the CDC from Atlanta, because commuting by car is just worse and worse, and still today it's worse than it was when I retired. So, you know, it's easy to say you don't want public transportation, but if you live here and you work in Atlanta, you probably are interested in public transportation. And thus the high numbers you're talking about with people leaving from the church there to go into town, it's just a nightmare to drive in and drive home.
Thank you. You have a statement. It was not a question, it was just a statement. Okay. Yes, sir.
Chairman, at the beginning you said you want solutions and resolutions. So let's step back to what Wayne had to say about public works and et cetera. And take this list that we have created and decide what roads are deteriorating the most, and then find out what kind of traffic is being used on this, because heavy traffic and heavy traffic and tractor trailers on the road, for example, maybe Tommy Morgan has the same trouble on Tucker Mill. Just squaws the roads. And all it takes is one commissioner's meeting to decide what to classify the route and put one sign up that costs about $35. And you might save some time on, put some mirrors on those roads. That's just a suggestion and very elementary.
We do have a rating system for condition of roads, and that's an objective way to determine which roads with the limited resources you have that you resurface. What we did in the current SPLOST that ends next month is we took the worst roads, and that's where we put the $20 million for resurfacing.
Well, why are they bad, Mike? Have you decided that heavy traffic is one of the contributors? And if so, can we prohibit that heavy traffic on public roads?
Prohibiting it becomes a real issue when it's an arterial. You can prohibit when you're talking about in residential areas, but it's extremely difficult to prohibit when that's the commerce that's moving through the county and on your arterial road.
Okay, we got one more question.
Excellent question. I think Ms. Sunday here been waiting here for quite a while.
I just wanted to make a comment. With regard to economic development, what we must have in this county, if we want to bring economic development here, we already have labor availability because we have a high unemployment rate here in this county. So we do have a lot of folks who can be hired here and who can be trained. What we're lacking is we need the land, we need the infrastructure, which is the water and sewer. And if we don't have the water and sewer, then Marta is not going to bring us economic development. We have to have the water and sewer, and that's what we need if we want to bring economic development to this community. There are other things, but those are the most important at the top of the list.
Excellent point, because good-looking roads, well-maintained roads, attracts corporations. Good school systems attract corporations. A community that blends together attracts corporations. Having the right waste capacity attracts corporations. So those are some of the strategies we're putting in place and have in place. We do have that rating system. It's working, and we do have a maintenance program we're developing. It looks like we're going to continue to use the SPLOST. We want to graduate from SPLOST and move it to the general fund. The reason why the previous administration didn't put it in the general fund, didn't have the resources, didn't have the monies. They didn't have the money. So we got to figure out a strategy together as a community.
All right, thank you very much, Chairman.
Thanks so very much for having me out this evening.
We wore your feet out tonight.
Oh, no. Let me close. Let me just say, ladies and gentlemen, the stars is at your fingertips.